44% of pre-retirees are worried about uncertainty in their finances in retirement. It's the biggest concern for pre-retirees. It's understandable. You go from work to retirement, you go from having a job, receiving a weekly paycheck, bi-weekly paycheck, to all of a sudden, now you have to figure out, where's my money coming from every month? How do I take all that money that I saved up and how do I turn that into income? And also, how do I make sure that I don't outlive that income or that I don't have to worry about the stock market and that I make sure that it's there when I need it? My favorite way of doing this, and this is what I do for my clients, is I set up the bucket strategy. The 3-bucket strategy is simple and it's really easy to understand. At its heart, you split your money up into 3 different buckets and say, I'm going to have one bucket that is the money that I need in the next year. The second bucket is the money that you're going to need in years 2 to 5. And then the third bucket is the money that you don't need for at least 6 years. That's it. Here's a breakdown of how I look at it. You can see in bucket number 1, it says cash, and that's year number 1. This is the money that you're going to need for spending in the next year. The easiest way to figure out how much goes here is what are you taking out from your investment accounts, whether that's taxable investments, whether that's your IRA or your Roth IRA. How much are you going to withdraw over the next year? And you can see in bucket number 2, that's bonds. That's years 2 to 5. So as you can tell, that's 5 years worth of spending. So just like in year number 1, if you're taking out whatever amount per year, you're going to have that amount that comes due in bonds each of those 5 years. So that's going to save you in case the market goes down. You don't have to sell stocks when they're down. You can know, hey, I've got stocks that are maturing I have bonds that are maturing this year, and I'm okay. And then finally, you have the stock bucket. You could also call this the growth bucket because that's what it's for. This is the money that you want to grow long term faster than inflation. Now let's look at an example. We'll take, for example, John, totally made up client, but these numbers are really close to what I see all the time. John has $1 million portfolio and he's taking $4,000 a month in income from that portfolio. So he needs to cover $48,000 per year in withdrawals. For round numbers, I'm going to use $50,000 because it's a lot easier to multiply. What we're going to keep in the cash bucket is going to be $50,000 because it's going to be 1 year of spending. That way he knows he has that much sitting there and he doesn't have to worry. In the income bucket, he's going to have 4 years of income. 4 years times $50,000, $200,000. And we're going to keep that on a bond ladder, which I'll explain more in a moment. And then finally, in the growth bucket, it's going to be everything else. So 50,000 plus 200,000 is 250. 1 million minus 250 is going to be 750,000. And just to put this into reference, that's going to be a 75% stock portfolio and a 25% bond and cash portfolio. So it's still pretty close to the rules of thumb that most people like to look at. So that's where I would typically start as far as an overall allocation. In the income bucket, this is one of the places where I see the most mistakes. Why is that? It's because most people buy a single bond fund or they buy a couple bond funds and they don't actually match what their spending needs are going to be with the bonds that they're buying. They'll find a regular old bond fund. There are a ton of core bond funds out there and they say, hey, I'm good to go. I have bonds in my portfolio. But the problem is interest rate risk. But the good thing is, because you know you have a certain need in a certain year, you can actually match what income you need in that year to the income that you're going to receive. So what I mean by that is, if you're worried about interest rate risk, if you look back to 2022 and 2023 when the Fed was raising rates precipitously, bond prices went down because, as you can see, when interest rates go up, bond prices go down. And that's a problem if you're expecting your income to come from those bonds. But you can also look at something like a bond ladder where you're matching your income need to your actual maturity, and this is a great way of minimizing that interest rate risk. So how does the bond ladder work? In John's case, he's simply saying, I need $50,000 to mature in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. If he does that, he knows that year that much is going to come due. It's going to be $50,000 plus the interest that has accrued over that time frame. And he's going to be good to go. And the good thing about matching your duration to your need is that you're really minimizing your interest rate risk. The fancy term is immunizing your bond portfolio against that interest rate risk. There are a lot of ways to turn your retirement savings into retirement income. The bucket strategy is just my favorite. I like it because it's very simple, it's very easy to understand, and the biggest part is that it allows you to sleep at night because you know that, hey, I have income coming in, I have the income that I need coming in no matter what happens in the stock market. And I've found that working with clients over the last decade, it's such a great feeling to be able to say, you know what, the market's down right now, but it's okay because we have enough set aside in income that you don't have to worry for the next 5 years. And that's a really big deal. So if you're interested in the bucket strategy, keep watching some of my other videos. Click the subscribe button at the bottom, or there's actually a link in the bio. And if you want to get my high net worth tax retirement guide, click it and I'll be happy to send it to you. Thanks.